All right, we're getting out here, getting ready to go. You can hear him in the background. Come here, Gunner. He is super excited. He hasn't been out for a little bit. So we're gonna go. Look at the weather. It's snowing. I got my heavy weather winter fly fishing gear, but we're gonna go try to catch a winter steelhead. All right, welcome. We're headed down to the river right now, but I was gonna go over a new series because I have a lot of guys wanting me to start from the basics with spey casting. So I'm gonna start this series. This will be spey casting 101, or spey fishing, actually. I'm more of a fisherman than a caster, but you gotta cast to fish, so you'll learn some casting too. But this is spey fishing 101. All right, we're gonna head down the river and we'll talk rods, lines, cast, flies, and all that good stuff. Are you ready to go? In today's modern spey casting, there are probably just a couple different things that you'll see on the river mainly. I'm going to cover shooting heads, and what shooting heads are is they're a chunk of fly line that carries the whole weight of the rod that'll load the whole rod. And then what you do is you put them on a running line or a shooting line. This is Amnesia mono is what I'm using right here, but there are some other ones that are out there. So most of what you're going to see guys using in the Pacific Northwest are these setups. There is another thing called a long line where you're casting the whole thing, and that was the original spey casting. Was back in the original on the river spey. They didn't do a lot of shooting heads. Okay, the way you decide on what head you're going to use depends on what fly or the conditions of the river that you're going to fish. So today the river is swollen up. There's a lot of water on the river today. So we're going to use a different head than we would use, say, in the summer or when the water's really gin clear cold in the winter. Today we're going to use the Skagit head, and the Skagit head, what it is it's a chunk of fly line that is designed to carry big sink tips. So these guys right here, these are sink tips. They're made out of tungsten, and they're made in different densities and different lengths. And so you want to match that to the river, to the way that you're going to fish the river right now. And so that's what I'm doing today, is I'm going to fish a Skagit. The Skagit was created in on the Skagit River up in Washington. That's where it gets its name from. Now the thing about the Skagit is it does throw big heavy flies really well, and I'll show you some of those, and sink tips. This is a sink tip. I'm getting it ready today for, I'm going to fish this, and I'm going to fish a heavy sink tip. I got a floating Skagit shooting head on here, and I'm going to use it instead of a sinking Skagit shooting head. And I'm going to fish this seam right down through here with the Skagit line. Now, there's a time when a Skagit line probably wouldn't work good for you. Now, this is a 20-foot section of line, And then the other types of heads that we have are scandies. Now I have scandy heads here, and they're about 30 foot long. Now the difference between a Skagit is if you look at how heavy it is, even up to where you put the sink tip on, it's real heavy line. So it's basically like a big hunk of line that's going to carry your sink tip out there, and that's basically what it's for. Now the Scandi line on the other hand is heavier in the back end. So this is a floating Scandi. I have 2 different density of sinking Scandies, which are perfect for lower water, or I mean, it would work today if I wanted to cast a smaller fly. You could cast a smaller fly, but they don't want to turn over a big fly as well, because up in the front of them they're a lot lighter line, but in the back, in the rear, so from the loop end about 5 feet in is where they carry the majority of their thickness, and that makes them turn over really nice, land on the water really calm and mellow. They still cast a long ways. I think I could cast my Scandies probably farther than I could cast my Skagits, but they cast a long ways. But the reason that you have a Scandi is, say you want to fish summer flies and the river's low and you don't want to splash the water hard like you would with a Skagit, or in the winter when the water is really gin clear but you still have to get at the bottom because the fish are right on the bottom, then you want to fish a Scandi too, because if you don't want to slap the water, but you still got to get out there. So these Scandis that sink, the triple density Scandis here, they'll get down really deep when it's gin clear and when the water's running a little bit lower. Now the reason I'm not fishing one of these today is because of the fly that I want to fish. I want to fish a big fly because we got all this rain swollen water. So it all depends on when you're checking on what you want to fish, whether you fish a Scandi or a Skagit. The big thing here is to start with your fly. So I'm going to start with something bigger. Like these type of flies you can fish with a Scandi. Those are perfect Scandi sized flies, but they're a little bit smaller. They don't carry the profile. I got a feeling the fish are going to be not real flighty. They're not going to be easy pushed around. So I'm going to fish a bigger Skagit style fly, or an intruder style, or a hobo Spey style big fly, and I'll show you what one of those looks like. And that's why I'm fishing what I'm fishing here. That's why I'm fishing the type of fly, or the type of line that I'm fishing. To turn over these big flies, you have to have a big head to turn those over. So a big old hobo Spade looking things, you know, in red or purples. Fish my purples a lot because purple is the last in the color spectrum to leave. So if you're going to throw these big heavy flies, which is what I'm going to do today, you got to fish a line that's going to turn that over. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps you guys. We will get into how these cast, how these fish, the differences in how they fish, all of that. We're going to get into all of that. But we'll do it in a series so we don't overwhelm you with information. So when you set out to buy a line, figure out what you're going to fish mainly. If you're going to fish mainly winter steelhead on big swollen rivers, I would suggest a Skagit. If you're going to fish mainly in the summer, I would suggest a Scandi. And then of course anything within those spectrums, there's a lot of change in those too. So hopefully that helps. This will give you a good idea of how to fish on these things. So maybe I can hook a steelhead for you. guys, I hope that helped a bunch. We're gonna get out of here. It's starting to get dark on us, but I hope that helped. Hey, if this stuff helped you guys, can you do me a favor and subscribe below? Also, could you pass this around and let other people know if there's some guys that want to get into spade casting and they're afraid to do it. Maybe this video's here to help you guys do that. So if you pass that around, it'd help us out a bunch. Also, we have a couple groups, The Life Outdoors over on Facebook and Trout Spey over on Facebook. Until then, you guys, thanks a lot.